All in.
And Andy Block moves all in. The nod calls. Medic trailing and at risk.
If Block wins this hand, he will have a massive chip lead three-handed. Medic's tournament life is at stake.
Medic looking for help on the flop. And the flop is... all spades!
In 2008, I watched the World Series of Poker, event number 1 on ESPN2 at 1 in the morning. I was a bored kid up late on a weekend, but as soon as I started watching this event, I simply couldn't stop. I began rooting for this guy, Nenad Medic, as he worked his way through the ups and downs to win a World Series of Poker bracelet. It wasn't long before all the elements of the game got me hooked and glued to my TV until the very end. The thrill of what was on the line, the goofy personalities that were at the table, and the little bit of hope that you had that even if everything went wrong and you slip up with a mistake, Lady Luck could always bail you out in the end. I honestly think I became a poker fan for life after seeing Nenad win. Keep in mind, I was only 14 at the time, so I couldn't exactly play myself, but here, 9 years later, not much has changed. I'm still as interested in the game as ever. No Limit Texas Hold'em is the name of the game that most people play, and a quick rundown for those of you who don't know how it's played or haven't really heard about it before. Each player gets 2 cards, and there's 5 community cards that you see on the flop, the turn, and the river. Throughout the stages of a hand, you use betting strategies to try and figure out who has the best hand, whether or not it's you, and how you'll be able to take all the chips in the pot if you can. These past 2 or 3 years in particular, I've really been trying to get a deeper understanding of poker and practice at the local casino, and there's one thing I've always found interesting about how poker players improve. When reviewing a hand and analyzing their play, seeing what they did right or wrong, they never talk about whether they won or not. Results don't actually matter, believe it or not. If you're a losing player in the long term and you're consistently losing money over hundreds of thousands of hands, then yeah, that obviously matters. But in individual hands, when a poker player is looking for what they did right and what they did wrong, the result doesn't matter. There's always a chance they could get lucky and win even if they played badly, or they could play perfectly and lose from a goofy idiot that did something ridiculous and got bailed out. Just because you win a hand doesn't mean you played it right, and just because you're never lucky doesn't mean you played wrong. Taking a look at a quick example to show you guys what I mean, this is a 3-handed tournament that this player is playing in where he gets dealt pocket 10s in the big blind. He has an opponent shove all in on him where he has pocket 10s. This is a really good hand in this situation. With only 2 other players in this table, only 2 opponents he's going up against, it is very likely that his opponent could have a much worse hand where he calls and his opponent does have a much worse hand. His opponent has a Jack 6 where he is monstrously ahead. However, his opponent ends up hitting a 6 on the flop and a 6 on the river to make a full house and beat his 2 pair of 10s and aces. So this guy ends up losing this hand, and he probably gets knocked out of this tournament because he has so few chips. Does that mean he played this hand incorrectly? No, and he should not feel bad about this hand even though he lost. Similarly, this guy is playing a suited queen 2 in a 5-handed pot out of position where he ends up making a pot-sized bet on the flop where he only has second pair with a terrible kicker. He has a guy shove all in on him where it's very likely that somebody has a king. It's very likely when he has 4 other opponents and a king on the board that somebody has a king. So he, of course, has to call. The guy does have a king, and he ends up just getting very, very lucky and rivering a queen. Does that mean he played this right just because he won all this money? No, it doesn't. He played this terribly wrong, and he should not feel good about this hand even though he ended up winning. These are both situations where how well a player plays doesn't correlate to whether they win or not. They can play very badly and still win, or play really well and still lose, and today I want to talk about this in a League of Legends sense. You see, the more and more I play poker and the more and more I play League of Legends, the more and more I realize that League of Legends is a lot like gambling. You play the game for fun, you know you're gonna lose money, and there's a lot of random elements. But in League of Legends, the random elements aren't the RNG of the game, mostly. The randomness comes from your teammates. This isn't to say that I'm a perfect player and I only lose games because of the bad teammates Riot gives me. Obviously, I would not say anything as ridiculous as that. This goes both ways, by the way. Sometimes you do get dragged down by teammates that struggle, but sometimes you get teammates that carry you when you suck. The point is, there's an element of randomness in League of Legends, and I think adapting this poker mindset mindset can change the way that you analyze games in League and try and get better. Recently, I've been trying to improve and get better for Road to Masters, and while I'm analyzing some of the games I end up losing, I don't actually see how we could have won, or at least how we could have won with the strategy that I was using. Similarly, I analyze some of the games that I win that I know I played poorly in, even though I got the victory. Typically, when I play top lane in League of Legends, I have a strategy that involves trying to win the early laning phase, out-CS my opponent until I eventually recall for an item, then use the first teleport to teleport back top lane and start looking for a kill on the enemy top laner. Then, hopefully I'll get a kill or two, grow a CS lead, and deny the enemy top laner while looking to TP gank bot lane when my second TP comes up. When this strategy goes off without a hitch, it works quite well, at least in my experience in the rating I'm playing at, but sometimes I'll play games where that strategy simply won't work because of a factor that's typically outside of my control. Maybe bot lane will constantly be pushed, or they won't ward the lane when I tell them to, so I'm not physically able to TP gank. Maybe the enemy jungle will camp me top lane, so I can never get my early snowball going. Maybe I'll TP gank bot and the enemy jungle will be close enough that they can come and help their teammates kill us all off, or maybe my teammates will actually just suck and they'll lose the lane early enough that I'm not able to help out by the time my first TP that I use on lanes comes up. You can certainly look at some of these scenarios and still see mistakes. If the enemy jungle is close enough to counter gank a TP, for instance, I should be aware of that, or at least be aware that we don't have vision of the enemy jungle. But the point of all this is we're now shifting our mindset, shifting the focus from thinking, did I win or lose the game, to did I play the situation correctly? Did I recognize what I had to do to try and win the game and execute it to the best of my ability? And if I fail in any of these areas, I can see very clearly where the mistake is, what went wrong, and what I need to improve for next game. But if I successfully TP gank bot and I successfully win my lane and I make some pretty good calls in the mid and late game, but we just get unlucky with something, I'll know not to be too hard on myself about it and just try and replicate that success the following game, hopefully while not being on tilt. Solo queue is a lot like poker, where even if you're the best player in your rating, you'll still lose games when you're playing ranked. The objective shouldn't be try and win every single game and be angry if you lose. It should be develop a strategy that causes you to win more than you lose over a longer period of time. Now, before I go any further, I should say this is definitely a slippery slope to look at League of Legends like this. Most players, when they try and improve, eventually get stuck in a rating because they can't see their mistakes or areas they should be improving in. So telling someone it's okay to make an excuse for losses because they can think, oh, I played that right, but things just didn't work out because I got unlucky, that can definitely steer people in the wrong direction. It's super important to remember that there's always room for improvement in every area of your game. A challenger player put into any rating in platinum or below would probably lose a grand total of 0 games as they climb their way out. But for most players, you won't be able to make that jump from platinum to challenger, no matter how much coaching you buy with your parents' credit card. To climb in rating, you need to practice a lot and gradually get better. Get a silver's skill level when you're in bronze, and you'll slowly climb up to silver. Get a gold skill level when you're in silver, and the same thing will happen. Developing a strategy that will win you games in your rating and executing it will show you, did I do everything that I set out to do? Did I fail in areas that caused me to lose the game? Or did I just get unlucky? And if I do everything just as well next game, I'll have a solid chance of winning. Continuously patching your weakest areas of play and grinding out games to get a big enough sample size to see whether or not everything is working can be pretty tough. Solo queue really makes you go insane after a while, but it's 100% necessary for looking to improve. I do think that this thought process of not being results oriented and letting individual games get to you where everything goes wrong, don't let that affect you. Try and keep your eye on the bigger picture. After all, in League of Legends, your teammates do affect a lot, and there are a lot of random elements to the game. Sometimes you'll go on a massive winning streak that you don't deserve at all because you get lucky where the jungle is and you get good teammates that all win their lanes and you just get carried all the way up the ladder, but sometimes the opposite will happen and you'll have a pretty bad losing streak even if you played things pretty damn well. It's important to not let all that get to you though and focus on your own strategy, acknowledging the things you do right and working on the ones you do wrong. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed watching today's video. Thank you very much for watching. This video was done in a style that I have not used in a very long time. It's been forever since I made one of those how to get better at League videos. But with my focus right now being on trying to improve for Road to Masters and everything, I couldn't really help myself but make another video like the ones we used to make in the good old days. I hope you guys all enjoyed it. You can, of course, leave feedback in the comments as always. But until next time, thank you very much for watching. Good luck in solo queue and have a wonderful day.